As we open up Rosh Hashanah, Tet Zayin Amud Bet, tonight we will see a Ran, which, if you've never seen it before, you're going to wonder, how did I live my whole life until now, and I've never seen this Ran? You're really going to say that to yourself. Wow, I can't believe it. You'll see what I'm talking about in 2 minutes. But first, let me just announce Akar Tov, the Cates family, Ora and Lev, Benjamin, Adam, Aaron, and Abigail, a sponsored tonight commemorating the third year of Dr. Gerald Cates, Zichron Livracha, merit learning merit, an aliyah for his neshama. I'm just reading the cue cards, but that's just open up the sponsor of the week of learning, and it's really appreciated. And it's Marbitz Torah, which I tell you, it's close for neshamas for real. So that's a real thing. Okay, so I got to now open up so I can put it onto the screen also over here. Last we learned, we were talking about the issue of, among other things, we talked mostly last week about the Baal Tosif issue from a halachic vantage point. We also touched on this halachic issue about Arbev Hasatan. Remember?
Yeah.
So if you look in the Ran, exactly. If you start wondering about your identity, if you're the one who's confused. So we had seen the view of Tosafot that the confusion, so to speak, is this must be the end of days. Mashiach has arrived, and that's the end of time. Yeah, the Jews are celebrating the arrival of Mashiach, and therefore the Satan has no standing, can no longer make a claim. Rashi had said the issue was that the Satan is going to see the chibuv mitzvah, so many different tekiyot, miyushav, me'umad. Remember, miyushav is before the Amida, before Shemona Esrei, me'umad during. So that's going to confuse the Satan. And I mentioned that there are perfect Jews out there. One who takes literally, there's a Satan, however Western culture imagines it, said Satan, prosecutorial angel, and its voice is muted. But you could see it a different way. I didn't have that sourced. I just said the Libi Omerli, but apparently somewhere earlier in my life, I must have learned the Ran. It's the Ran. So look with me on the bottom of this page. Now, for those who don't know, this looks just like the Gemara. It's not the Gemara. It's the Ran, the Rif. The Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi. You're on the right side originally. It's the one with the shadow on it, because I'm not all that adept at scanning and photocopying, apparently. So it's here. In color on the screen, it's even in red. So red, white, white, black, and red. So that's over here. That's the Rif. The Ran wrote a commentary on the Rif, but obviously also it's really on Shas. So the Ran here, the bottom, Dibur Amad Chalama Token Ring Shin Yoshvin, we're talking Ring Shin Omdin, and you should have it on the screen right here for those who are online. A lot number of people online today. That's the Ran. So we're looking at it inside, and you will see it's just sort of closing a loop for us, and we'll of course go on tonight to see some other things. So Lama Token Marine Exchange Yoshvin Token Marine Exchange Omdin Perush Kaven Sha'atidin Litkoa Keshehain Omdin the Tekiyot Shal Seder Abrachat Hein Ikar, since the real Tekiyot are the Tekiyot that happen during the Shemona Esrei, because they're bound up with Tefillah. So therefore, Lama Token Marine Exchange Yoshvin. Why do we? That's really the question of the Gemara is. I'm here on the bottom, Dibur Matchil, and the bottom right here, Lama, Token, Umarin. Only the word Lama is bolded. You see it? Yeah. Yeah. So again, Nachamel, Lama Token Maring Shin Yoshim Token Maring Shin Omdin Perush. He explains. Kaven Shi Atidin Litkoach Shehin Omdin the Tkiyot Shal Seder HaBrachot Hein Ikar Lama Token Maring Shin Yoshvin. Why are you bothering at night? Before and when you're sitting still. In the seated position, not literally in the seated position, but you understand, yeah? So what does it say? That's what the Gemara says. Now says the Ran, Perush, lahachnia et hayetzer. It's in order to cause one's inclination to be caused to submit. Kirichtiv, imitaka shofar be'ir, ve'am lo yecharadu. Will a shofar be sounded in the city, in the town, and the nation will not tremble? The Satan, Hainu Yetzirah. When it refers to the Satan here, it's not referring to some kind of metaphysical creation. It's referring to the evil inclination. Uchadaresh Lakish. As Lakish explains, the Amar and Baba Batra, who Satan, who Malach HaMavet, who Yetzirah. They're all the same thing. They're synonymous. Satan, Malach HaMavet, and Yetzirah. Aval, So that was the Ran's view. The Rashba, by the way, went exactly in the same direction as well. Aval b'sefer Aruch Katov, the Yerushalmi Garcinan Ktiv Bila Hamavet Lenatzach Ktiv Hayabim Ahu Yitaka B'Shofar Gadol. That's exactly what we learned in Tosafot, based on the quote from the Aruch. Then Yerushalmi explains that since death will be swallowed up at the end of days, death equals the Mavet, is the Malach HaMavet, is the Satan. So when we'll hear the Shofar Gadol, the sound of the great shofar, the heralding the end of days, death will realize it's up, the game is up, it's over. Satan, Kol Shofar Chadazimna Boyel, below Boyel. The first time, it's nervous, it's unsettled. It's not so unsettled, it's a little bit unsettled. But when it happens the second time, wow, then it's off the reservation, because it says, I never heard two like this. So therefore, it decides to enter into a panic, so much so that it can no longer criticize Klal Yisrael. That was Tosfot's view. Tanayan, when it comes the second time, Tanayan lay, which repeated, Amar Vada how Shufar Tkas Shofar Begadol, B'Shofar Gadol, right? Umata Zimna Lihit Bala, Umirta Umit Arbev, V'lei Pnai L'Ma'aved Categoria. It can't engage in prosecution because it's decided Mashiach must have arrived, because he hears so many different tekiyot, sets of tekiyot. Again, the Ran puts the two of them together, but I'm just showing you the Rashba before him, and now the Ran, very accessible, tells you right here, one of the views is that the Satan is the Yetzer Hara. That's what it means. So when you hear the shofar so many times, if you were going to be cynical about shofar, oh, there it goes again, that cynicism will be expunged by having heard it during the Tekiyot Miyushav, because it comes in successive blasts, and once that happens, so it did away with the Yetzer. You'll be shaken up. So by the time you get to the actual Tekiyot Umad, which are folded into the Tefillah, you won't be cynical anymore. You won't be dismissive. And he goes on to explain. Veneer Lee, third line up from the bottom of the Ran, which is the Rashi, so to speak, Rashi script. So it's the bottom text there, right? Veneer Lee, Shilakach Hikdimu Tekiyot Shemiyushav. Right? Really, by rights, you have to do the main thing first. I mean, that's the main thing you're doing. So if you want to mix up the Satan and it's some kind of a metaphysical, impact on the Satan, he can't prosecute, his mouth is closed. So do the real ones first. And then you want to mix them up after. So you'll do the Mushav after. Because it could be that if they put the Tekiyot Miyushav first, people wouldn't be concerned. They would think, well, the part of this was just to mix up the Satan. So once we did the main Tekiyot in the Amida, we left everything to the end, the other Tekiyot. People wouldn't take it seriously. They would say, we got rid of the Satan. This is just to get rid of the Satan or something. We did it on the Seder HaBrachot. That was really the mitzvah. Right? Bottom line. Therefore, they put the ones in Miyusha first, because everybody knows nobody's going to be cynical at the ones al habrachot. Why? It's bound up with the tefillah. It's integral to the davening itself. Tosafot asked, we saw this was the other Tosafot. It's in the Ran. It's in a different order than we saw in Tosafot. We learned the later Tosafot on the page, and went to the upper Tosafot on the page. Next page. 1 second. Turn the page over here. Yatsu de Chovatan on the top of the page where it says Rabbeinu Nissim. Right? It's really the top of the page. Right? Yatsu de Chovatan. Hold on. Yeah. I'm trying to put it on the screen so everyone can see it. Okay. Kshen Yoshvin. Havale Shlobismano. If they already did the answer was they already were Yotze their Chova, while Kshen Yoshvin means before they even got to the ones during the davening. So then Shalobismano. Asik Rava, Lekaman, Perak Ra'u Beitin, La'avor Shalobismano by Kavana. Later on, this is also quoted in Tosafot, Rava concludes that in order to be over on something being Shalobismano, that really need Kavana to be over on the Isser Bal Tosif. Otherwise, if it's not at the right time, that you just did Stam Mitzvah, it's not Bal Tosif, it's just Stam in action. So he said, Akati lo sagi. It's still not achieving it. Why? Dehachanami mitkavin the mitzvahu, because he's also still trying to do a mitzvah later on when he's blowing shofar again and again and again. V'ka'avar mishum bal tosif. So you really are being over in bal tosif because you do have kavanah to be yotzei. I.e., to explain outside for a minute, We have the Torah telling us how many tekiyot there should be and how many truot there should be. We don't know what a truot sounds like. So we do this way, that way, but so many times we do it. 30 as the miyushav, 30 in the umad, and then for good measure, we throw in another 30 plus 10. Right? It's a lot of different tekiyot. So if you want to argue, well, you already did the mitzvahs, everything else is just stam, you're just doing the action for some other reason. Ran connects it. Maybe it's even to mix up the satan. Well, isn't that also Baal Tosif? Isn't that also a problem? And you're actually mitkaven to the mitzvah of Tkiyat Shofar during that whole time. Nobody, no rabbi that I know of gets up after Shmoneh Esrei and says, we're going to blow 40 tekiyas. Everyone should just know the mitzvah's over. It doesn't matter now what we do. Right? Because probably half the shul would be talking, the other half would leave. It's already a long time you're in shul. But says the Ran, you don't do that. You know why? Because it's still part of the mitzvah. But what about Baal Tosif? So keep going here. But Tirtzu, Tosafot answered themselves. It's not shaykh to talk about Baal Tosif when you do the same mitzvah repeatedly. The action of the mitzvah, not the object of the mitzvah, is being changed, but you did the mitzvah and you repeated it. He gives examples. We saw these already. Ubirkat kohanim nami. Afilu mevarchin kampa'im b'yom l'tzibur ein zeh b'shum Baal Tosif. Elim came osif brachim mishlo kigon Elokei avotechem yosif aleichem. Right? Pasuk from Parshat Devarim. Okay, right? You want to say and other things like that. You're adding to the syntax of the bracha. That's the problem. You want to repeat the bracha again and again? Not a problem. Because Kohanim did go from minute to minute. Same thing. Took the lulav again, fine. There's no upper limit to how much matzah you can eat. Keep going. Compound biyom echad. Ein zeh Baal Tosif. Right? If you have to do the four corners of the mizbeach, putting application of blood, if you daubed it onto the same one repeatedly, it's not Baal Tosif. It would not be Baal Tosif to add more and more, and in fact, that is what we do, and it's not Baal Tosif. The Ran connected it a little bit to his own point that maybe the Tkiyot de Miyushav is really not the main mitzvah, but we do it early to prevent people from being mazalzel that somehow these extra tekiyot are either just to be the satan, they don't have a mitzvah component. No, they do have a mitzvah component, but don't worry, it's not Baal Tosif. You can keep doing it again and again. Questions?
Eating an apple, say Bari creates. Another bite, say Bari creates.
No, the bracha she'en tzricha. Right, that's Bari bracha she'en tzricha. Same apple. They make a bracha on the apple. They take one bite. You left. You want to go answer the front door. You stepped outside. You come back in. Probably Bari creates again. You change the place. You hasachadas, this and that. You're not full from one bite. Right? Here the point is Devar mitzvah. And we're not going to keep repeating the birkat mitzvah, but we're going to be repeating the action of the mitzvah. That is functionally what we do. What I just thought was fascinating is the Ran himself and the Rashba, one of his Rebbeim, says actually, there's like a line. It goes from the Ramban, the school of the Ramban is the Ramban, then maybe the Ra'ah and the Rashba, something like that, and then the Ritva, and then the Ran. It's sort of like they're connected.
It says Satan is not so.
He doesn't say that. He allows that it's possible.
But it's gates are hard
of the people. They're cynical about mitzvahs. They're cynical about everything.
I don't understand why multiple show for
it. Strikes the fear into you. You do it at the beginning. The point is that there are so many tekiyot, eventually it's going to penetrate even the cynical heart. If you don't like it, you could just go back to the pshat is there's a satan, there's a prosecution on high, which for our purposes, because it's easier for us to understand, it's a courtroom. No, it's not in perpetuity. The point is your Yetzer Hara at that moment regarding what's happening. You're in shul, you're davening for a good year, you're davening for a good judgment, you're davening that right things should go well. But there's a little part maybe that's somewhat cynical about the davening. There's somewhat cynical about being there. It doesn't mean the Yetzer Hara is going to go away for the whole year. The point is the Shat Hadin, one of the things that will help focus us is this clarion call. Like the Rambam writes, Uru Yeshenim Yishenatchem. It's to wake us up from sleep, but the soporific impact of, this is how the world is. I don't know, there's some judgment or something. It'll be what it'll be. What do I have to do with it? Take away your Yetzer Hara. You hear the sound of the shofar, a call to action, a call to order, and therefore call to action. The action is tefillah. That's the idea. So that's the Ran. We'll leave it here for a moment. We'll come back to the Ran a little later this evening, possibly. I don't say for sure because we have to see how the rest of the night goes. If you look at what we had seen in the Gemara, we'll go back to the Gemara, Tet Zayin Amud Bet. We'll pick up stakes and move a little bit farther, and we'll see some more in terms of Tosafot, Rashi, Tosafot, and the like. This is a very important daf in the world of Hashkafa. I mean, they're all important, but this is you thinking about what does it mean that there's judgment at certain times of the year, and we saw that was the machloket. Maybe it's even every hour, maybe it's every minute, every day, every hour, something like that, right? The point is, we're constantly being held to account to one reading. Another one, no, it's annual. So the rest of the year, just fold my hands like everything will be okay because the judgment was already rendered. Is it that simple? Right? There are consequences to that. The more you tilt the pendulum, in the direction of it's every day, the more you've swung it away from the experience of Rosh Hashanah. And conversely, the other way, yeah. So again, the Mishnah seems to make it sound like it is once a year. But then the Gemara was asking, so what about the sick people? So why you bother davening for the middle of the year? No, so you could undo a gzeira through the tefillah. Yeah, you could do it. We're invited.
There are two different types of judgments.
With regard to other aspects of the world, which obviously impact us. So crops.
No, I mean, there was the judgment on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur for the Yom Ryan, but then there was the daily judgment. Oh, we had that.
They're not as two separate channels. It's a machloket, which it is. Now, could you come up with some kind of?
I'm share once about it, probably. That's what
Yeah. I mean, I could give you a beautiful drasha on the subject, and probably has a logic, content in it about tefillah. The word lefalel is introspection and self-assessment, and that's tefillah. And vayifalel, that word is a self inspection, self-assessment.
But I thought it comes from, I thought we said earlier once that comes from Pilel. That Pilel,
Pilel means to judge yourself.
Right.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So could be.
Okay.
Could be. Okay. So let's go back to the Gemara. So we just saw the thing with the Satan. Now, second line, Tet Zayin Bed. Amar B'Yitzchak. Kol shana shein token la b'tchilat marin la b'sofa. Any year where there isn't Tkiyat Shofar at the beginning, so bad things will happen at the end of it. In other words, like we need the Tkiyat Shofar somehow to start off the year. It must be. We have to have it. We have to be exposed to it as Klali. So the world needs it.
Wake us up.
Maybe my time it delay Arbiv Satan, because if not, then the Satan was not mixed up, and then the prosecution had its way, and bad things could happen. So right here, pause. We should read a little more. Sorry. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Kol shana sherasha b'tchilata mitasheret b'sofa. Any year that begins in poverty, we'll have to see what that means, that it will end in wealth. Shenemar meireshit hashana, from the beginning of the year, but the Torah says meireshit without an aleph. So in the beginning, Lashon Rash, kedalim uchirashim dafaknu delatecha, right? Like poor and indigent people, we knock on your door. From Slichot, Rash. So meireshit, yeah. Ktiv vad acharit, until the end of the year. Sofa sheyesh la'acharit. It's the end of the year that has a completion. It's gonna go in a good direction. It ends in a proper way. So right here, look at Rashi, Tet Zayin Amud Bet, second line. Sherash b'tchilat shisol osin atzman rashin b'Rosh Hashanah ledaber tachanunu mitfila ke'inin shnemar tachanuni daber rash. The Jewish people make themselves poor, quote unquote, because we speak in a supplicatory manner through our tefillot. We come with humility, like a poor person would. So that's how we speak to Hashem. That's what matters. Look at a Tosafot. Shein token b'tchilata. Tosafot disqualifies. Mefarish b'halachot gedolot lav demikla b'shabta el dityalad unsa. When Rabbi Yitzchak said this, that any year that does not have the shofar at the beginning of it, it'll be problematic for the rest of the year. That is not referring to when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos. Don't be nervous. It's only if it happened that there was a calamity that prevented the blowing of the shofar.
He doesn't disagree.
Well, so he's just saying he's sort of mitigating it. Yeah, according to the name of the Bahag, the halacha gedola, that's the case. So yeah, that is tough. That is tough. That is tough.
He doesn't need reason.
It just says it. So I'll tell you something. On Rosh Hashanah last year, I gave a shir. It was a tshuva of the not is the Binyan Sion, but in his drushes of Yaakov Ettlinger, and he writes in the drusha that when we don't have the Tkiyat Shofar because it's Shabbos, so we have one thing, Shabbos. So he says if people keep Shabbos, then when the judgment comes up, so the Shabbos will defend the people. He writes this. And no doubt he was talking at a time of the beginning of the Enlightenment and secularization. I said this in Shul. And he writes, if God forbid the Jewish people aren't keeping Shabbos properly, so Shabbos not only will not defend the Jewish people, absent the shofar, Shabbos will essentially join the prosecution.
Mhm.
This is the same person who, in the Sheil Shua Binyan Sion, was the one who pioneered the idea about, let's say, Jews who aren't religious and don't keep Shabbos. He had what you could call, relatively speaking, for his time, a permissive attitude. This and that. So that was on Shabbos, which was Rosh Hashanah of Tafshin Pei Dalet. In the same piece in the drasha, he goes through systematically that some of the best years of the Jewish people in Jewish history were years when Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos, and some of the absolutely worst years in Jewish history were exactly the same years when Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos, including the Churban. He writes this. So I forgot about this, and on October 7th, October 8th, actually, we did like a Nila Sachag, which who was going to dance at that point. And I always review, what we do. I had the notes, but I hadn't thought of it since that day. And we were sitting, it was in the social, I don't know if you were there, and I found it on the paper. I was just trembling. The Meshech Chochma writes that it's nobody's fault if it falls out on a Shabbos, but he says if you're missing the shofar, beware, you're missing the shofar. It's a reality. It's nobody's fault. It fell out that way. We have to listen to what the Chachamim want. But he says there's a price paid spiritually.
But
So,
it's a Yom HaRichta.
what?
We do blow shofar. It's a Yom
For the second day, but not on Shabbos. It doesn't count. It doesn't count the same way. So the second is only mitzvah d'Rabbanan. I'm just
Really?
submitting this for consideration. I wouldn't have. I'm not giving this a Shabbos Shuvah drasha, to ram it down people's throats, something like that. I'm not God's account. I don't know how these things work, but in retrospect, and since we're up to this sugya, I found this to be absolutely terrifying. The Binyan the Rav Yaakov Edlinger, it's in his drush in Aruch LaNer, he writes this that the worst years of Jewish history fell out the same year when it was Rosh Hashanah, which was a Shabbos, and sometimes the best years. He has a whole calculation for each event. So no doubt it was in his day a polemic that many people were abandoning being Shomer Shabbos, etc. I say again, and in another level, he was very, call it accepting. I don't want to say accepting that he thought it was okay, but how are we going to still incorporate these Jews into Jewish life? We don't have to shun anybody, throw them out, etc. So for consideration. The Tosafot here, Shirashi b'tchilata, shemitoch Yisraelim rashim libam nishbar u'mirachamim aleim min hashamayim. Tosafot writes that by the fact that Jewish people are poor, their hearts are broken, and then min hashamayim they'll have rachamim will fall upon them. So Rashi thought it was the conduct of the people making themselves impoverished through their words. For Tosafot, it sounds like it has to do with actual poverty in some way. Rashim, libam nishbar. Okay, for consideration. Sorry if that was too heavy about the October 7th thing, but that's mamash what happened. Anyway, so please.
Reason we know the reason why we don't do blow shofar Shabbat.
Right. The carrying of the shofar, etc.
There's so many ways to deal with it.
Yes. And in fact, in various places they did deal with it. In Yavna, they dealt with it. We're going to see this in the fourth parak, which we're scheduled to be at in about 4 years. But
To deal with, considering the importance of it.
you're absolutely right, and I don't have a good answer. There was someone in Yerushalayim who tried to bring it back, but it didn't work for them either. So so Chazal said not to. So some of the Rishonim point out, like, we're being blamed that we didn't blow shofar. The Chachamim told us not to blow shofar. You're right. Like ate aseh, the mitzvah aseh is docha, mitzvah lo taseh, right? But they was very concerned with chilul. We're back to it again. Chilul Shabbos, that people were going to carry the shofar. Dalet Amud B'Shut Rabim. It's Takana de Rabbah. Point well taken. We'll get back to it when we come to the fourth parak. Yeah. We all know this drasha. A person is judged according to their actions to that point. Shenemar ki right. You have that here. Ki, right. Yeah, here this right. The Malach talking to Hagar. Ki shama Elokim el kol hanar ba'asher husham. What he's up to. Yeah, Rashi. Shenemar ba'asher husham. Rashi. First of the narrow lines. Umatzin b'Bereshit Rabbah. Amr Malachi Asher Lifnei Kodesh Baruch Hu Ribono Shel Olam. Mishativin Banav Lahamid et Banacha B'Tzama Atamalelo Be'er. You're giving him a well to drink from. He's going to cause your children, his descendants, will cause your own children to die of thirst. What's the story? Shenemar in Yeshaya. All right, we have a pasuk in Sefer Yeshaya. Masa Ba'arav Bayar Barav Talinu Orchot Dedanim Likrat Sameh Hetayu Mayim Yoshvei Eretz Tema Balach Mokidvu. No date. So over here, I quoted the whole pasuk. It's on the bottom of my page, right? Likrat samai tayu mayim motziin likrat hagolim minim eluchim v'nodet nefuchim. They saw people going out to exile. The children of Yishmael saw the Jews going out to exile. They brought them all sorts of salty foods, and they gave them jugs of water, filled to the brim with water. K'di'ita hatam, right? But what happened in the end? When they opened up the jugs, they were all filled with air, with hot air, so then many people died of thirst. So you're letting that Ishmael should get a bit of air and survive, yeah. So Amar Lahem Hasha'a, Hashem said to the Malachei Asharet, now at this moment, this hour, Tzadiku or Rashahu, or Rasha, is he righteous or wicked? Amrulo Tzadik, he's righteous, hasn't done anything wrong yet. Amar Lahem Ba'asher Hu Sham Ein Nidan Et Ha'olam El B'Shaito. I'm not going to judge the world except according to what it's up to. Yeah. So that's also very sobering, right? You consider how much more anguish you could fill in the blank here from the Bnei Yishmael up to right now. So you just, wow. Ba'asher Hu Sham goes according to what they're up to at that time. Three things that will bring about the judgment of a person, or cause in Shemayim, they're going to judge the person. What are those? Kir natui, person's walking under a unstable wall. The iyun tefillah, people who get very involved in their davening. So what that means in a minute. Umoser din al chavero, people who say, I hope that person, Hashem judges them harshly. So they'll be the ones to be judged. Rashi, kir natui. Ve'over tachtav, maskir avonotav. You go underneath it, it causes a remembrance of all the person's sins. She'omer klum ra'uizeh le'asot lo nes u'mitoch hu nivdak. Right? Is this person worthy of a miracle? What's kir natui? It's going to fall. It's teetering, a teetering wall. So you say, I'm a Jew, I keep a lot of mitzvahs, nothing bad will happen to me, and you walk under the wall. So in Shemayim, they're asking, is this person worthy? A nes should be done for them, or we're leaving them to the general cause and effect of nature? Next, v'iyun tefillah. Rashi, somech al tfilato, the person relies upon their tefillah. Ubatuach is the word missing. Shitei nishmat, they are positive, they're so sure that their tefillah will be heard, will be accepted. Umitametz lechavin libon, so they focus very much on the tefillah because they think that's some kind of superpower. I'm such a good davener, whatever I ask for will come true. So really, so Hashem's judging that person at a higher level, asking, are they really worthy of the claim that they've made? Moser din. What's the example? Very sad example, aren't they all? Kamo yishpor Hashem beini uveinacha. From Parak Tet Zayin Sefer Breshit. Remember who said that to who? May God judge between the two of us. Sarah Imenu said it to Avram Avinu. How come? Because Sarah Imenu told Avram Avinu, since we haven't had kids and we've been married so long, you should marry Hagar and have a child there. But then it went to Hagar's head and she started persecuting Sarah. And Sarah was miserable. She went to Avram and said, Hashem should judge between you and me. Hamasi Alecha, why aren't you defending me? That's how Hagar gets kicked out 1.0. 2.0 is in Vayera, but this one is in Lech Lecha. So just for consideration there also. Also the Gemara, another line in the Gemara. Dama Rabbi, it's not Rabbi Avin, it's someone else. I don't remember because I looked it up and it's over here. Chanan, according to the Rif's Girsa, etc. Dama Rabbi Chanan. Kolamos Yudin al-Chaver Hunen Ashtrilas Nemar, Vatomer Sarayel Avram, Chamasi Alach Uchtiv, Vayavo Avram Lispol Sarv Likota. In the end, sadly, because it's not clear that it's because she said that, but it works out that someone who's Moser Din on their Chaver, can you imagine the wife said it to her husband, and Hashem's listening. So in the end, she dies. She ends up dying first. I don't think that the claim here of Hanan is dafka. It's literally cause and effect. I don't know for sure. I find it hard to believe. But the point is, she was Moser Din on Avram Avinu, and there was a net impact many years later. She's Avram Avinu is 99 when he does the bris. So he's 86 when Ishmael is born, which means she's 76. And she hasn't died until she's 127. So then she ended up dying first, but it doesn't mean she died like sooner as a result. Tosafot wants to understand better what is this issue with Iyun Tefillah. This is what we'll have time for tonight to try to learn this Tosafot. I'm right here. Dibur Matchil v'Iyun Tefillah. Everybody with me so far? Okay. Omer Rabbeinu Tam. Iyun Tefillah Dahacha Kiho to get Pashut. This Iyun Tefillah, those who are doing the daf, I guess you just saw this very recently, so it sounds familiar, right? When it's talking about it's like it says in Parak Get Pashut Bava Batra, the Gimel Dvar Me'in Adam Nitzol Mehen B'chol Yom, V'kachashiv Iyun Tefillah. 3 things a person is not saved from every day, i.e., from doing incorrectly, not being able to make the grade. One of those 3 things is Iyun Tefillah. Kilomar, She'ein Mechavein Liba V'Tfilato. They don't properly focus in davening. It's hard to focus in davening, right? The point here that Tosafot is trying to make is, the Gemara here says that if you're engaged in Iyun Tefillah, the net result will be you'll be judged harshly because you had Iyun Tefillah. But in Iyun Tefillah and the Gemara Bava Batra is the basic expectation for everybody that no one can actually reach. So what are we being judged for something we can't actually reach? Follow? Because it's very hard to daven with a lot of kavanah. Kita Amar Yerushalmi de Brachot. In Yerushalmi Brachot it discusses in Parak Hayakore, Amar B'chia Rabba, Min Yoma, Lo Kavanet, Ela Chad Zman. Boyd, Mechavenet, Beherheit Libi, Belibi, Amri, Man Alal Kumoy, Malka, Kadmoy, Aklafta, Orej Galuta. So these are examples, 4 examples from Rishalmi and Brachot of how hard it is to daven. So the first is Rabbi Chia Rao, we just read. He said, I never was able to have kavanah in davening. The Pnei Moshe, was one of the commentaries on the Yerushalmi, it's not here, it's on the Yerushalmi, says the issue is that he was so busy learning that he couldn't focus on davening because he couldn't get the thoughts of learning out of his head. That's the idea. He was thinking over and over again, who goes in first to stand in front of the king? The Al-Kafta, that's the sort of the chargé d'affaires, the person who's in charge of the Jewish community, the non-Jewish person represented to the crown, or the Reish Galuta means the Jewish person, aka the exile ark, the head of the Jewish community, who goes stand before the king first. Like those are the kinds of questions he would think about. He wouldn't have kavanah and davening. Shmuel Amar Ana Manit Parchaya. I was counting the birds flying by. That's what I was doing during davening. Rabun Barchia Amar Ana Manit Dumsaya. I'm busy counting the different rows of the building outside, the rows of the bricks. In other words, they're all either daydreaming or what have you. Of course, don't worry, all the different commentaries on the Yerushalmi, it doesn't literally mean they couldn't have kavanah davening. How could that be? It's a mitzvah and you have to have kavanah, and we know. But Tosafot's quoting it just to say, see what it says there? So now you're telling me a person's going to be punished, they're going to be judged harshly by Hashem or in Shamayim because they have Iyun Tefillah, but no one can get to Iyun Tefillah. So Amar Rav Mana, right? Rav Mana has another idea. What's that? Machzik ana tivul reshe dichimati lamodim have a kara migarme we talk sha'adim palel. Sorry, kara migarme. So I would basically somehow be holding my head in a low way because of all of the great thoughts that I have, presumably again in Torah, and then while I'm davening, like I would like bend over, and then I'd come to my senses for a second, but that's about it. Libo, since a person davens and they don't have proper kavana, aveirot of niskarin, their sins are going to be enumerated. What? How could this be? But you see that it's not, nevertheless, not possible to explain that way, because here you have all these chachamim who weren't able to hold kavana properly, at least not ongoing, right? So Ella Adarabba. No, it's really the opposite. The problem here is not that you're the focusing, not focusing. Of course, you have to focus when you daven. The problem is that you're trying so hard to have kavana that it has led to a certain sense, you could say, of certainty that your tefillos will be answered the way you want them answered. That's the problem. Person who takes a long time in their davening and they're ma'ayin. Ma'ayin means they're investigating it, meaning investigating in the sense of they really think whatever they say, God's going to listen to them. Three things will actually cause a person's life to be longer. What's one of those things? Someone who does spend more time davening. It's right there. Uparich, wait a second. The question is sort of break it up. Is that really true? Because is it really a good thing to take longer in davening? Didn't Rabbi Chia bar Abba say that if you daven for a long time and you're ma'ayin in it, you investigate it a lot, it'll cause pain in your heart, right? How's that? Because you expect it to come to be the way you thought it was going to be based on what you said, but it didn't happen that way, so then you feel bad. Shenamar tochelet mushacha machal Kalomar meaning ma'ayin ba omer belibo shiyasu b'kashato lefi sheitbel b'kavana. I daven with a lot of kavana. I'm sure that Hashem will answer my tefillah the way I would like. Or to say differently, I'm storming the heavens and I'll therefore get what I want. That's the problem. That's cave leif, because you shouldn't have had that kind of certainty. Ubali de cave leif your request was not honored the way you thought it would be. So you're disappointed. You feel bad. Tochelet lashon tefillah milashon vayichal Moshe, to entreat. Tochelet, like vayichal Moshe, right? Like Yachel Yisrael Hashem, Yashem Achas Rebbein Mufdut, type of hoping or pining. One, iyun tefillah is one of them, the three things that cause the avonot of a person. This person thinks they're so good with all their merits that whatever they say, God will do their bidding. We better check if they're actually worthy of it. Venira mahem umeshane ha dema'ayin ba ha delo ma'ayin. All right. V'hasta havu kol hani shlosha dvarim me'inyan echad. So basically, we learned there that we're ma'ayin in it. That's the problem. The ma'ayin. It's not that you take longer in the davening. It's that you're ma'ayin in it. It's not a question of kavana as much as the certainty things will work out the way I want. But you're not running the world. God is running the world. And if you're trying to do that, so you have to know, are you really, it's Shema Dalask, are you really worthy? And now all these three things in this memory of Rabbi Yitzchak, of Rabbi Chanan they go together. They're all connected with each other. Right? And you passing underneath it. You're sure that your friend, your fellow, will be punished because of your say-so. God should judge them. So maybe God should judge you. So the third one, which is really the first on the list, iyun tefillah, same problem. You start thinking, okay, I was thinking a lot about davening, and all is well with the world because I'm gonna get what I wanted. Oh, not so fast, not so fast. Yeah, not so fast. So let's go on a little farther in the Gemara before we say goodnight. A few minutes. Yep.
Thing to remark.
Please.
In the Kahal, there are some gentlemen that bring Gemara to the Tefillah.
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, is nicht this and nicht that. You cannot concentrate on two things at the same time. And
I hear you. I have a lot to say on the subject. I accept what you say. The only thing I will say is it's definitely better than bringing a magazine or a book about Israeli politics or a book about Israeli politics or the biography of I don't know who. These are all wonderful things to read. I read them, but if you're in Hashem's presence, at least if you're learning a Gemara, so you're reading one of the greatest works. Yeah, you're learning Torah. But you're right. There also is a Shiloh. There's a Shiloh. I have a lot to say on this subject, but okay. By the by, you could argue. You look in the Tosafot right here. I just quoted you the Rishonim Brachot. All these Rabbanim, who according to most of the Rishonim, they were so busy with the learning they couldn't concentrate on davening, and they would lose it. They couldn't do it. I think on our level, most of us aren't on such a level, so we should keep the davening, the learning. What do you do when it's quiet in shul and you're listening to something? You're listening. That's part of the davening.
Is that what the meaning of kva itim leTorah, this time to daven?
Yeah. You could say. Again, a person has to make their own shikulim. I have a lot to say on this subject, as you know.
As a batfila, okay.
It's distracting.
Yes, that's not where I was going. There's nothing greater than a kehila singing along, even Tosafot. Okay, it's how I learned as a kid.
Participating that way.
Stand there with the chazan and sing with them.
Sure. There's a lot there.
Encouraged me.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Doc, I'm with you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Let's go on a little farther in the Gemara. So of Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, it is in the narrow lines about I don't know, halfway down or so, I would say. Yeah. Something like that. So you have here Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, another Rabbi Yitzchak member. They're all bunched together, but they're actually all related to each other. Four things will tear up whatever the decree is on a person. Here they are: tzedakah, tzedakah, shinu Hashem, v'shinu Maisa. Shinu tzedakah, we understand. Tzedakah is crying out to Hashem's davening. Shinu Hashem is you change your name. What does that mean? Change your name? Change your identity. Shinu Maisa, you change your actions. Sometimes Shinu Hashem is also literally, people understand it to refer to changing one's name. That's why people add a name. If someone's very sick, it's been in the news lately. I think there was a shir in town recently. I got some shilas subsequent to the shir. So Shinu Hashem, something else you could do.
You look at an example. I was under 1 year old on Safa Mavet.
Really?
And I Osifu Hashem L'chaim.
Wow. That's how you became Chaim.
Osifu.
There you have it. And Shinu Masa is tshuva. Shinu Masa. Tzedakah dichtiv u'tzedakah tatzil mimavet. Tzedakah dichtiv vaytzakol Hashem b'tzalahim in tzukoteihem yotziyim. Right? From Tilm Kuv Zayin. Right? We're reading a pasuk from that every day in the tefillah for the shvuyim, Chatufim, yeah. Right? So these pasukim we know. Shinu Hashem dichtiv sarai shtechalot tikrad shema sarai ki sarah shma. Remember, because Sarai could not have a child, but Sarah could. Right? So because their name was changed. Shinui Maisa dichtiv vayara Elokim et maaseim uchtiv vaynachem Elokim al ra'as shediber la'asot lahem. It's referring to Sefer Yonah. V'lo asai, he didn't do it to them. V'yesh omrim, some say af shinui makom, even changing your place. Dichtiv vayomer shel avim lechem me'atzcha v'hadar, and then once you change, you go to another place. V'eschal goy gadol. Yeah.
Isn't there something that says Shana Makom, Shana Mazel?
Right here.
Yeah, that's where it's from.
It doesn't use the word mazel, but this is the Talmudic expression. So v'idach, the second opinion, the first opinion, meaning Rabbi Yitzchak didn't think that was one of the ways they could tear up a Gzar Din. So what does he think about the fact that Hashem's lechem ha'atzcha v'tzchal goy gadol, etc.? So how is chud Eretz Yisrael? That's the merit of Eretz Yisrael. It's not because he changed places, because he went to Eretz Yisrael. When you go to Eretz Yisrael, your name becomes great. Go figure. That is for Avram Vito is true. Right? It was impactful for him. He benefited from it. Not mazel, but mezal, to go. Right? So in the story of the Isha Shunamit, why are you going today to go see the Navi? It's not Rosh Chodesh and it's not Shabbos. So for Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos, you're supposed to go see the rabbi, the Rebbe, so more so in a regel. It's part of it.
Keep
So-
interrupting, but
That's okay.
my internist name, family name is Mason.
Maybe it's from this. Who knows? Who it could be? אני לא יודע.
השמות הופיעו לפני
יכול להיות, יכול להיות. יכול להיות. V'amar b'Yitzchak, chayv adam l'tarid atzma b'regel. A person has to be matar themselves on the holiday or in honor of the Yom Tov shenemar uveniv latam lo tigo, not to touch the carcasses. The truth is, this pasuk in context itself is actually in the parak of the Torah having to do with kosher and non-kosher animals in Parshat Shmini. So what's it doing here? There's a whole discussion. We'll get to it. Maybe Yisraelim are generally not allowed to touch an Avela either, in general. Have to stay away, just like Kohanim. Later on, it's going to say, tell the Kohanim to be Nizharim with the issues of Tuma and Tara, but not Yisraelim. Right? So Bnei Aaron Musharim, Bnei Yisrael Ein Musharim. V'lo dvarim kal v'chomer. So isn't this a kal v'chomer? Ma Tuma Chamura Kohanim Musharim Yisraelim Ein Musharim. Since there's a Tuma Chamura means Tumat mate, it's a Tuma Chamura. Why? Because to become a tar from it, you need the mei chatat efer para. Kohanim have to be careful, but Yisraelim don't have to be careful. So kal v'chomer basically Tuma kal. Lo kol shekain. If it's a simple tuma, one that can be remediated if you're going to the mikvah, so all the more so that Yisraelim don't have to be careful. What does it mean? Don't touch the nevela. That means on the regel itself. Now, where did this whole issue come up? Later on, the Gemara will come back to Viregel. Rashi says Viregel mishtai kra can mefarish v'azil l'kamed b'braita. The Braita goes on to say that there's a limud to learn how it came about. Why is it quoting this here? There's another statement of Rabbi Yitzchak, and all the Rabbi Yitzchak statements are all batched here, 16a and 16b. They all went together. So these last ones are not necessarily related to Rosh Hashanah, but so, oh, we mentioned his name. Oh, so what about this? What about that? We'll stop here. I thought we would get farther. Next week, God willing, we'll pick it up with Amar Rabbi Kruz Bedoy. And that's it for tonight. I got to go to the girls' bat mitzvah program at my house starting in just about 10 minutes. Adkan.